Hi guys, I'm going to read to you guys the next chapter in Number the Stars. So on Tuesday we finished chapter 15. We're going to read chapter 16 today. Remember the title of it is I Will Tell You Just a Little. Remember back in chapter 15, the soldiers were questioning Anne-Marie about what was in her basket. They found the handkerchief that was in the bottom of the basket, and they wanted to know what that was for. Anne-Marie didn't know, so she didn't know what to tell the soldiers. So the soldiers let her go on her way, and she took the handkerchief to Uncle Henrik. But when she got to the boat, she didn't see anybody but Uncle Henrik, and he told her that they were all safe. And basically the chapter ended at that. So we're going to find out what happens next. Remember, this title is chaptered I Will Tell You Just a Little, and I'm reading it with permission from the publisher Scholastic. Poor Blossom, Uncle Henrik said, laughing after dinner that evening. It was bad enough that your mother was going to milk her after all these years of city life. But Anne-Marie, to do it for the very first time? I'm surprised Blossom didn't kick you. Mama laughed, too. She ate in a comfortable chair that Uncle Henrik had moved from the living room and placed in a corner of the kitchen. Her leg, in a clean white cast to the knee, was on a footstool. Anne-Marie didn't mind their laughing. It had been funny. When she had arrived back at the farmhouse, she had run along the road to avoid the soldiers who might still be in the woods. Now, carrying nothing, she was in no danger. Mama and Kirsty were gone. Remember that she was going to call the doctor because she was injured. So, to me, it seems like they were probably going to go see that doctor. There was a note hastily written from Mama that the doctor was taking her in his car to the local hospital, that they would be back soon. But the noise from Blossom, forgotten, unmilked, uncomfortable in the barn, had sent Anne-Marie wearily out with the milking bucket. She had done best, trying to ignore Blossom's irritated snorts and tossing head, remembering how Uncle Henrik's hands had worked with a firm, rhythmic pulling motion as she had milked. So she's talking about milking the cow Blossom. And remember, it's very important that Uncle Henrik has this cow because he has the cow. He is able to have things that they don't have in Copenhagen. Like he's able to have cream for his oatmeal. He's able to have butter, an endless supply of milk. So he has all of these things. And so Anne-Marie knows that it's very important that they take care of Blossom. I could have done it, Kirsty announced. You only have to pull. I could do that easily. So remember, Kirsty, the younger sister, being the silly little girl that she is, thinks that anybody could milk a cow. Anne-Marie rolled her eyes. I'd like to see you try, she thought. Is Ellen coming back? Kirsty asked, forgetting the cow after a moment. She said she'd make me a dress for my doll. Anne-Marie and I will help you make a dress, Mama told her. Ellen had to go with her parents. Wasn't that a nice surprise that the Rosens came last night to get her? She should have waked me up to say goodbye, Kirsty grumbled, spooning some imaginary food into the painted mouth of the doll she had propped in the chair beside her. Remember, Kirsty was asleep during all of that stuff that was happening about the casket being filled with blankets and warm clothing. And so Kirsty doesn't know that they had this huge plan to help save all these people from the Nazis. Anne-Marie, Uncle Henrik said, getting up from the table and pushing back his chair, if you come with me now to the barn, I'll give you a milking lesson. Wash your hands first. Me too, said Kirsty. No, not you, Mama said. Not this time. I need your help here since I can't walk very well. You'll have to be my nurse. Kirsty hesitated, deciding whether to argue. Then she said, I'm going to be a nurse when I grow up, not a cow milker. So I have to stay here and take care of Mama. Followed as usual by the kitten, Anne-Marie walked with Uncle Henrik to the barn through a fine misty rain that began to fall. It seemed to her that Blossom shook her head happily when she saw Henrik and knew that she would be in good hands again. She sat on the stacked hay and watched while he milked, but her mind was not on the milking. "Uncle Henrik," she said, where are the Rosens and the others? I thought you were taking them to Sweden on your boat, but they weren't there." "They were there," he told her, leaning forward against the cow's broad side. "You shouldn't know this. You remember that I told you it was safer for you not to know." "But," he went on, as his hands moved with their sure and practiced motion, "I will tell you just a little, because you are so very brave." "Brave?" Anne-Marie asked, surprised. "No, I wasn't. I was frightened." So Anne-Marie thinks that she's not brave because she was scared when she was talking to the Nazi soldiers. But in reality, being about your guys' age, she was very brave to stand up to those soldiers and to not break and tell that it was for a secret to save people. And Uncle Henrik knows that and knows that deep down, she's very brave. "You risked your life." "But I didn't even think about that. I was only thinking of—" He interrupted her, smiling. "That's all that brave means. Not thinking about the dangers. Just thinking about what you must do. Of course, you were frightened. I was too today. But you kept your mind on what you had to do. And so did I. Now, let me tell you about the Rosens." And so he's saying that bravery is just thinking about what you would normally do. Like all the examples that we've talked about Anne-Marie and Mama and how they're brave and caring because they take care of their friends. They lied to the soldiers. They kept them safe. They hid them. All of those are great examples of why they are brave. Many of the fishermen have built hidden places in their boats. I have too. Down underneath, I have only to lift the boards in the right place, and there is room to hide a few people. Peter and the others in the resistance who work with him bring them to me, and to the other fishermen as well. There are people who hide them and help them along the way. So all of these fishermen that go out and catch fish right now in the book are actually hiding Jewish people in their boat and taking them across the water to Sweden to safety. Anne-Marie was startled. "Peter is in the resistance? Of course I should have known. He brings Mama and Papa that secret newspaper. And he always seems to be on the move. I should have figured it out myself." "He is a very, very brave young man," Uncle Henrik said. "They all are." Anne-Marie frowned, remembering the empty boat that morning. "Were the Rosens and the others there then, underneath, when I brought the basket?" Uncle Henrik nodded. "I heard nothing," Anne-Marie said. "Of course not. They had to be absolutely quiet for many hours. The baby was given medicine so that it wouldn't wake or cry." "Could they hear me when I talked to you?" "Yes. Your friend Ellen told me later that they heard you, and they heard the soldiers who came to search the boat." Anne-Marie's eyes widened. "Soldiers came?" she asked. "I thought they went the other way after they stopped me." "There are many soldiers, and all along the coast. They are searching all the boats now. They know that the Jews are escaping, but they are not sure how, and they rarely find them. The hiding places are carefully concealed, and often we pile dead fish on the deck as well, and they hate getting their shiny boots dirty." He turned his head toward her and grinned. Anne-Marie remembered the shiny boots confronting her on the dark path. "Uncle Henrik," she said, "I'm sure you're right that I shouldn't know everything, but please, can you tell me about the handkerchief? I knew it was important, the packet, and that's why I ran through the woods to take it to you, but I thought maybe it would be a map. How could a handkerchief be important? He set the filled pail aside and began to wash the cow's udder with a damp cloth. Very few people know about this, Anne-Marie, he said with a serious look. But the soldiers are so angry about the escaping Jews and the fact they can't find them that they have started to use trained dogs. They had dogs, the ones who stopped me on the path. Uncle Henrik nodded. The dogs are trained to sniff and find people where they are hidden. It happened just yesterday on 2 boats. Those dogs, they go right through the dead fish to the human scent. We were all very worried. We thought it meant the end of the escape to Sweden by boat. So these fishermen are very worried about these Jews getting to safety. And I know that you guys are probably thinking, well, why are they so worried about these random Jews? Remember, a lot of these Jews are their friends. Some might even be their family by marriage or something. And so they care for these people, just like we talked about that you care for the people that you love, you care for your friends, you care for your family, you care for anybody just because it's what we do as human beings. And so these people are trying to save these people because it's the right thing to do. It was Peter who took the problem to scientists and doctors. Some very fine minds have worked night and day trying to find a solution, and they have created something special. I don't know what it is, but it was in the handkerchief. It attracts the dog, but when they sniff it, it ruins their sense of smell. Imagine that! Anne-Marie remembered how the dogs had lunged at the handkerchief, smelled it, and then turned away. Now, thanks to Peter, we will each have a handkerchief, each boat captain. When the soldiers board our boats, we will simply pull the handkerchiefs out of our pockets. The Germans will probably think we all have bad colds. The dogs will sniff about, sniff the handkerchiefs we're holding, and then roam the boat and find nothing. They will smell nothing. Did they bring dogs to your boat this morning? Yes. 20 minutes after you left. I was about to pull away from the boat dock when the soldiers appeared and ordered me to halt. They came aboard, searched, found nothing. By then, of course, I had the handkerchief. If I had not, well, his voice trailed off, and he didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. So think about that. If Uncle Henrik didn't have that handkerchief, those dogs would have found the Rosens and the other people that were underneath the deck of that boat. And we've talked about what happens when the Nazi soldiers catch these people. They're taken to a concentration camp and they're not treated very good at all. Uncle Henrik probably would have been taken himself for helping them. If she had not found the packet where Mr. Rosen had dropped it, if she had not run through the woods, if the soldiers had taken that basket, if she had not reached the boat in time, all of the ifs whirled in Anne-Marie's head. They're safe now in Sweden, right? She asked. You're sure? Uncle Henrik stood and patted the cow's head. I saw them ashore. There were people waiting to take them to shelter. They are quite safe now. But what if the Nazis invade Sweden? Will the Rosens have to run away again? That won't happen. For reasons of their own, the Nazis want Sweden to remain free. It's very complicated. Anne-Marie's thoughts turned to her friends hiding under the deck of the boat. It must have been awful for them. So many hours there, she murmured. Was it dark in that hiding place? Dark and cold and very cramped. And Mrs. Rosen was seasick, even though they were not on the water very long. It's a short distance, as you know, but they are courageous people, and none of that mattered when they stepped ashore. The air was fresh and cool in Sweden, the wind was blowing, The baby was beginning to wake as I said goodbye to them. So remember, we know that Mrs. Rosin gets very seasick, but she knew that she had to get to safety with her family. And so she was willing to endure a couple of hours of nauseousness and sickness and being cramped in tight spaces, because she also doesn't like being in tight spaces, to make sure that her family was safe. I wonder if I will ever see Ellen again, Anne-Marie said sadly. You will, little one. You saved her life, after all. Someday you will find her again. Someday the war will end, Uncle Henrik said. All wars do. Now then, he added, stretching, that was quite a milking lesson, was it not? Uncle Henrik, Anne-Marie shrieked, and then began to laugh. Look, she pointed. The cat has fallen into the milk pail. And that's the end of chapter 16. We learned quite a bit in this chapter. We learned what the handkerchief was used for. It was used to basically kill the sense of smell in the dogs so that the fishermen could get the Jews to safety in Sweden, which I think is a very, very smart idea of those scientists and even Peter to think of that. And so what I want you guys to think about is what you thought about this chapter. Did you like the chapter? Did you think that the idea of this handkerchief was a good idea? And maybe think about, if you were in this situation, what would you do to keep your friends safe? And so I want you guys to write in the comments of this post what you liked about the chapter, and if it were you, how would you keep your friends safe? Okay, tomorrow I will post again the last chapter of the book, and so we can find out how this story ends. All right, until then, I miss you guys. Bye.